The question that Swami Paritosh has asked is certainly beautiful and very significant. I will try to share that as briefly as I can because it has several dimensions. The mind, the ego mind, by its very nature, is resisting to all that is new. It always wants to pursue, carry on that which was. Acceptance means accepting the very reality of that which is this moment. Acceptance of the moment as it is now. Osho puts it very beautifully when he says, the isness of things. We have to be able to be humble enough to accept the isness of it. This is the way it is. And the rebellion has to be against that which was. Rebel has to be against the past, and acceptance has to be of the present. Why? Because we are normally carried away by the past. Past means our likings, dislikings, prejudices, conditionings, ideas, thoughts, teachings. All that gets reflected. The shadow of it covers the present so much that we miss the moment. And the moment is now. We are still accepting the past and living in the moment. That's a contradiction. We are living here and now, but we are continuing to accept all that which was. How do you think we can be happy or make the future happy for that matter? Because this past has been the product of, this present has been the product of the past, which has not given me the joy, the happiness, the clarity. Why? Because I have been always copying, imitating, pursuing the same thing again and again. So acceptance means to be able to remain available to that which comes. And anything can come. Life is such a mystery that you don't know what will appear to you at a particular moment. And if you are going to see through the color of the past, you will miss the significance of the very moment that has come to you. It may come as such a wonderful gift. It may come as such a wonderful insight. It may come as a wonderful clarity. And all that gets messed up because we are still looking at the past, from the past. Past is a heavy burden on us, and that burden prevents us from living this moment. Because we are heavily loaded with the past. Our emotions, our feelings, our whole being is somehow so much heavily loaded with all that has happened. Not only just this moment or last moment or yesterday. For years and maybe for lives together, we have been carrying all that burden inside us. To be meditative means exactly is to be able to accept that which is. That is what meditation is all about. Meditation is a technique, but the technique has to ultimately lead me to accept that which is at this very moment. I will not go into too much because somebody may also have answers and questions. But I would like to share one very personal experience with you, which few of my friends have heard it before. So would you please pardon me if I repeat it, but I would like to share that it is in the context of acceptance. Long time ago, 1967, when I was teaching at the University of California in Berkeley, a friend of mine who was my class fellow in Baroda University, he became a student of political science and he came to teach at the University of Nevada in Reno. And he just called me and he said that we have not met each other for a long time. Why don't you come over to Reno and we'll spend some time together. So I said, okay. So I drove down from Berkeley to Reno, which was about 300 to 400 miles. And it was a wonderful Saturday morning. And he said that I have a class to teach. So why don't you entertain yourself, just take a walk around the place here. I'll come back, then we'll have lunch together and we'll have some gossip. I said, okay. As I was walking down that pavement, suddenly a car appeared and stopped near me. So I also stopped. And one Indian senior citizen gentleman came out of it, came in front of me, he did namaste to me, I did namaste to him. And he said, shall I give you a ride? You want to go to get a grocery or want to go to the laundry? Because he was always trying to help anyone from India who don't have cars and they don't have facility, to give them a ride. So I said, sir, thank you, I'm not a student, I've just come here to visit my friend, but that's very kind of you. So he suddenly said, would you like to come and have a cup of tea with me? I said, okay, I'll come with you. So I sat down in his car. He brought me to his home, we went to his apartment. In the apartment there was this living room, there was a couch, and we were seated there. In front of the living room, there was a kitchen. In that kitchen was his wife. Now what must have happened, because I gathered that after a while, that when he must have left in the morning, there must have been a good conflict between him and the wife. So the moment we sat down, she picked up that thread where it was left before, and she started catharting and bombarding like anything. She was screaming and shouting and, going full blast. And I was seated there. I thought, what happened to tea? That I don't understand. I'm here to have a cup of tea. He said, oh, I'm having this. But that's how it was. And she went on and on and on and on. Afterwards, she stopped. And all this time, this gentleman, he was simply seated there. He didn't say a single word to her that, madam, would you please first make sure that we have tea, then we'll work it out later on. He didn't say anything to me. He just simply remained silent. He has a wonderful space after she was done. He said in Hindi, and I'll translate that in English, it's very simple. I said, "Aisa hai. This is the way it is." And he has a wonderful smile on it. This is the way it is. Aisa hai. And that became a mantra for me. This is the way it is. This is acceptance. He accepted everything what was happening there. He did not feel guilty, did not apologize, did not scold her, did not took a fight with her. He simply accepted the way things are as it is. Can we come to that space of acceptance? We do not accept because our past always asks us to confront, to hit back, to take revenge, to give a proper answer, just on and on and on and on. We are living in the past. Osho's very significant, one of the significant insight that he has given us is here and now. This is the moment. If we can learn that, and with all your permission, Swamiji, I would like to, on this point, I'm just going to extend a little bit. Often within those who are from the Indian background, we say that there are 3 debts we owe to 3 people. Our mother. Mother gives birth. She takes care of you so lovingly, so caringly. She creates our emotional world. She gives the warmth, the affection. We are always indebted to our mother. The second debt is towards father. Father provides us the material needs, facilitates material needs. We are grateful to our father because he protects, he takes care. And the third debt is towards the guru, towards the master. The first 2 debts can be managed. We can manage to pay the debt back by serving our parents. But the debt that we owe to our master, nothing will be sufficient, adequate to say that I have paid my debt to you. Only the ego mind will say that. A devotee, a disciple would never even think that he has already paid his debt to his master. So somebody asked this question to Osho, that these are the three debts. Now how do we repay your debt? You are our master. And he says, very simply, in a very loving way, he says, just live what I have told you. And you have paid the debt. Don't even have to thank me. He says, you just go on your way. Just live what I have told you. We listen. Many times we don't even listen. We are hardly there. Because when we are there, the body is there, the mind is somewhere else. We are wandering around, comparing, evaluating, judging what this Swami is saying. Oh, I know what he has said before. Yeah, I know that. The mind is continuously making judgment. So we hardly ever listen. And let us say we listen. And what Swamiji pointed out, Mahavir Swami used to call his disciples Shravak, listeners. He said, if you listen, you have gone halfway through very, very easily. The rest will happen automatically. But Osho says, listening is only one part, important. The second thing is to understand. What am I trying to say? What it is that he is trying to say. Shravan, Manan, understanding. And then he says the third one. Whatever you have heard and whatever you have understood, one has to now begin to live that, living. So listening, understanding and living. And so he said, if you live what I have taught you, what I have told you, you have paid my debt. You don't have to worry about it. And that is the whole challenge. The very word in Sanskrit that is used as sadhana, spiritual discipline, is this. This is the discipline. Am I living the teachings of my master? Am I living it? Or am I bringing my own mind, interpreting it the way I see it, manipulating it, working around it, cutting corners, finding easy way out? 1,001 ways. The mind is a very funny thing. Very, very cunning, wonderful as an instrument. We are not against anti-mind, we are not against mind. But mind has been the master. That is why the word Swami is given. Swami means one who is the master of his mind, not master of somebody else. And Ma is given, not only she is mother, as one who produces the child, but who is motherly to the whole universe, the whole world for that matter. She's just motherly. Whoever that is, she's just motherly. So this mind disturbs and destroys everything. And then we try to rationalize things. We justify them. Because we are not able to confront that which is inside really. That we camouflage. We are very good at it. There was once in a classroom, a teacher came, Swamiji, and she spoke for an hour on the importance of Jesus Christ. And then she said to this class, she says, children, I'm going to ask you a question. If you can give me right answer, whoever, this is Friday afternoon, I will let you go home early and you enjoy your weekend, and I'll also have a gift for you. So the children said, yes ma'am, what is the question? She says, okay, tell me, who is the greatest man to have walked on the surface of earth? So first she asked Nancy, she was from America. Nancy, what do you say? Nancy said, of course, Abraham Lincoln, the greatest man to have ever walked on the surface of earth. She says, yes, that is true, I agree with you, but that is not the answer I was looking for. She asked girl from Britain, Great Britain, Linda, Linda, what do you think? Linda said, of course, Sir Winston Churchill, the greatest man to have ever walked on the surface of earth. I'll connect with your question with this later on. She said, yes, that is true, but that is not the answer I was waiting for. She asked a boy from India, Ramesh, Ramesh, what do you think? And Ramesh said, of course, Mahatma Gandhi. The greatest man to have walked on the surface of earth. She says, yes, that is true, but that is not the answer I was waiting for. Finally, there was little Billy, who was sitting way back in the bench there. He was, waving his hand, madam, madam. She said, okay, Billy. She didn't think he has anything to say, but she said, all right, Billy, what do you say? And Billy said, of course, Jesus Christ, the greatest man to have ever walked on the surface of earth. She says, right, this is the answer I was waiting for. The past. Come here, Billy. Billy came and she said, okay, Billy, you have given me the right answer. You can enjoy your weekend. And here is a box of chocolate that I want to give you as a gift. He says, all right. He took the gift chocolate box, and as he was walking out, she stopped. He said, Billy, wait a minute. Come back, come back. She said, Billy, aren't you Jewish? He said, yes, ma'am, I am Jewish. So she said, then shouldn't you have said that Moses is the greatest man to have walked on the surface of earth? And Billy said, ma'am, deep down in my heart, I know that Moses is the greatest man. But business is business. How does it matter? How does it matter? Business is business. This is how our mind works. We always set aside that which is important, or we hide something. And we always say, this is what we call being practical. A practical man who is always looking and taking care of the business. The one who is not practical, we say, oh, he's dumb. He doesn't understand anything. What I'm trying to say is that Osho's entire message may be put in thousands and thousands of words, and yet there are a number of these wonderful gems that we come across. And one of them is how to be present in the moment. This moment is the precious moment that we have. And I know that you all have been reading him, listening to him, and his message is touching everyone's heart. Even if one message, one single message, if we begin to live that, it is so mysterious that all other things start falling into place. If you just follow one, everything else starts falling into place. So this is where I find that this kind of festival that we are having is enormously helpful to remind us that, to rejuvenate that feeling.